I was at a really very, very low point, very, very depressed. And I'd had various interviews with the Wellbeing Service in terms of assessment and so on. And I was then offered the peer support. And I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it pulled me out of a hole. I'd reached a point where I was just locked up in this little box, sort of hardly going out of my flat. And my peer support worker, we clicked on a personal level, which was really nice, and I think that, that certainly helped. But we discussed all sorts of little ideas, little strategies to get me out. I started swimming again, things like that. I discussed with him the possibility of going on to antidepressants, which I've been very wary of, going down a drug route. But we talked about it very openly. And in fact, I decided for a period I would, do that, and went to my GP. But I think more than anything, to talk to somebody who had themselves been through mental health issues, it gave me hope. Because I had reached a point, I'm nearly 71 now, and I've been struggling with this since my teens, and I almost felt I was just like on a downward slope from here to my grave. And he gave me hope. That was, I think, perhaps the biggest single thing that he did for me, and it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I can't speak highly enough of it. Well, we met in a Costa Cafe near where I live, which was nice. I like my coffee. And we just talked. I would sort of share maybe how I'd been that week, or, in between meetings and so on, what I was going through, some of the particular things that maybe I was struggling with at the time. And, as he kind of got to know me, he would then find things that he suggested I might start doing because I was also doing nothing with my time. I was just sitting at home rotting. We even suggested taking up an old hobby that I used to do, which I've done, which is really nice. So it was little ideas like that. And I think the feeling that, because, I'd reached this point where my self-esteem was so low, and the feeling that I was so completely and utterly worthless. And he kind of reflected back to me that wasn't true, which, it's maybe very obvious, but that was so important, particularly as, I haven't been in Norwich very long, and I really have virtually no social circle. And it was a lifeline. It was a lifeline to another human being, which was vital for me, absolutely vital. Well, yes, absolutely. I can only obviously speak from my own experience, and I have no idea how it would be for somebody else. But based on what I experienced, I would say it's of huge value. Why particularly? Well, all the things that I've talked about that it did for me, and although everyone is going to be in a different position, but if somebody is really struggling with, all the issues that go along with, the side issues that go with mental health, lack of self-esteem and confidence and so on, that is somebody who can sit in front of you and kind of reflect back to you that you're actually okay, that you're not a bad, hopeless, lost person. Certainly that's what it did for me. So if anybody else needs that, then my recommendation would have to be 100% yes. I think what touched me very deeply was the fact that I was talking to somebody who had themselves been through problems. And sometimes if you're talking to somebody who has not, although many counsellors and so on will have experienced their own challenges in life as well, but this was somebody who was prepared to openly talk about what he'd been through, without obviously very personal disclosure, but he gave me an idea of what he'd been through. So I was able to sit there and think, well, he's been through that, he's come out the other side, and he also stressed that although you come out the other side, it's not necessarily something that you will ever be maybe completely free of, but you can learn to really manage. And I think that was the thing for me, that I was at a point where I was feeling, will I ever be able to cope? Will I ever be able to manage this? Or am I just going to go on with this horrendous black monster sitting on my shoulder for the rest of my life. And it was the hope that he gave me. I think that's the biggest single word that I can use. He gave me hope. And we got on like a house on fire as well.